Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association. Missouri produces wood pallets, railroad ties, white oak barrels, hardwood floors, and more. Details on the variety of products made in the state are at choosewood.com.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. Diapers and period products are no sign of lavish life. But here in Missouri, the state taxes them at the same rate as luxury items, labeling both as personal property. At least it does for now. That's because bills introduced this year in the Missouri legislature would repeal that sales tax. It's not the first time lawmakers have tried to change the way the state's tax law treats these essential items. And critics say action is needed now. They argue that while Missourians can certainly enjoy the finer things in life, menstrual hygiene products and diapers are not indulgent extras. In fact, not having them is a very real hardship. One of the critics of this tax is Muriel Smith. She's the executive director of the St. Louis Diaper Bank, and she joins us now. Muriel, welcome to St. Louis on the Air.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you for having me.
And let's talk about your support for repealing Missouri's sales tax on diapers and period products. Now, critics like yourself call this a luxury tax, which we just mentioned in the intro. And I should note that label isn't an official designation. There's no literal luxury tax, yet it's true that Missouri law recognizes essential items with a lower sales tax, items like groceries or medication. Muriel, why aren't diapers and menstrual products considered essential? And what does it mean for families to have to pay this cost?
Yeah, Elaine, I'm not sure why Missouri continues to have these higher tax rates on these items that a lot of people use, and they are essential to their well-being. Mm-hmm. So it would seem like there are many other states that have, taken the taxes off of these items and acknowledged that they are basic need items that help people on a regular basis. And it really is hard for families. The cost of these items is expensive. It's expensive for anyone, but especially for under-resourced families that have limited income that are trying to decide between purchasing these items, paying rent, eating, getting food. And so, to spend $100 or more a month on these items, on diapers or period supplies from their limited income is really hard for them, and they have to make choices of what they're going to purchase or pay for on a monthly basis because they can't do it all.
Right. And the Missouri sales tax now on period products and diapers is at 4.225%. That is according to the nonprofit Missouri Appleseed. And in comparison, Missouri taxes groceries at 1.225%, and many healthcare items are taxed at zero. So how is it that this tax impacts people served by your organization? I mean, what are you seeing? Can you provide some examples of, in real life, how this affects people?
Oh, yes, definitely. So we have community organizations that we partner with that provide the diapers and period supplies that we have to their clients and to the general public. And so they do provide us with different stories about families coming in to get these items. One story that's top of mind for me is one of our partners had a mom that came in to get her regular monthly food distribution from the food pantry. And she came in with her baby and told the worker that she didn't want her food first. She wanted the diapers first because she had not been able to change her child since the day before. And so the child had been in this diaper for longer than they should have been. Mm-hmm. And she was grateful to have that day come around where she could come and get the diapers so that she could change her child's diaper.
Mm-hmm. Now, that situation, obviously, people might think of it as being, uncomfortable, but there are serious health implications to that sort of problem, right?
Definitely, yeah. For the child, obviously, there are some health implications with regular rashes. Some are very painful with UTIs. And it's very uncomfortable if you're in a soiled diaper for hours at a time beyond the time of the period of time that you should be wearing that diaper. And so that causes, a lot of physical stress for the child, but it also causes, some mental stress for families when they know that they don't have enough money to purchase diapers and they have to leave their child in those diapers for longer than they should.
Now, to the point about the diapers, the St. Louis Diaper Bank purchases thousands and thousands of diapers. So we all know that if you buy in larger number, it is going to bring down the cost. But how is it that the sales tax impacts the scope of what your organization can do?
Yeah, so it won't impact us directly since we're purchasing through a distributor and through the National Diaper Bank network where there's, an opportunity to purchase at high volume. But certainly one of the things that it will do is help families with diaper need who will be able to afford these items more readily. It is just a few cents, obviously, that if they're not taxed with the 4.225 tax rate, it is saving them, a few cents. But if you're having to buy diapers on a monthly basis, you have multiple children that are in diapers, that adds up, and any savings that you can get is really helpful.
What would you say to someone who says, why do they have to buy disposable diapers?
Yeah, we get this question a lot. We serve under-resourced families, and so these families have limited income. They may be living with a relative. They may not have their own place. They may not have access to a washer or dryer. So for them to use cloth diapers is not reasonable. And so having disposable diapers is really what's best for them.
How many more diapers, Muriel, could the diaper bank buy and distribute if there were no tax on them?
Well, gosh, we distribute a little over 3 million diapers a year. And we pay for our cost is 16 cents per diaper. So our cost is very cheap versus what families are paying in retail cost. But certainly it would save us some funds and amount of diapers that we're distributing if people are able to purchase these diapers at a reasonable cost without this tax on it. And so that would make it more affordable for them, which I think will probably, decrease the amount that we would be distributing for families who just can't afford them.
Now, there are two bills now in the Missouri legislature that would repeal this tax. But a similar effort last year did not make it across that proverbial finish line. How are you feeling about the effort this year, Muriel?
Well, I felt really good about it last year. It went further than it had in previous years, and so that was growth, and that was great. This year, the bills are moving very slowly. They've been assigned committee, but have not been scheduled for hearings. And, we are more than halfway through this legislative year, so we don't have a lot of time to pass it. And so I've been urging everyone to, contact their legislator who might be on this committee to get a committee hearing set so that we could get it moving. So it is looking a little slow, but we are halfway through, so we have another half that we can possibly get it passed.
I'd like to know a little bit more about the St. Louis Diaper Bank. It is one of several similar organizations in the state. And this coalition that you are part of distributes more than 8 million diapers every year. So help us understand why this coalition exists and what does it do better together than separate organizations sort of doing their own thing?
Sure. So there are 7 other diaper banks aside from the St. Louis area diaper bank in the state of Missouri. And a few years ago, we started meeting just to sort of do some idea sharing, resource sharing, and kind of talk about what we were doing and seeing in our different areas. We noticed at that time that none of the diaper banks in Missouri were serving the upper northern part of the state. And so one of our first things that we really looked at was how can we work together to reach those families and bring resources to the upper part of the state. So we started working on that. And then subsequently, when these bills were introduced, we went and testified and sort of galvanized and got together so that we could all lend our voice to in support of these tax bills to get the diapers and period supplies exempted from taxes. And so I think we're better together in that we come together to share resources that benefits all the families and individuals that we serve. And we can get funding together to help move our missions forward so that we can purchase more diapers and period supplies and serve more families. We can also, really be cohesive and get together to lend our voice and talk about, or to amplify our voice and talk about these bills and to talk about diaper need and period poverty and educate, the public and legislators about it in our different areas and talk about it at a statewide level of what's happening and what we're seeing and how we're helping with it.
We need to take a quick break. When we return, we'll return to our conversation with Muriel Smith of the St. Louis Diaper Bank. This is St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio. Welcome back. Before the break, we were discussing the cost burden of buying diapers, but there's another set of essential items, Muriel, that are taxed as, quote, luxury goods, and that's period products. Now, can you talk with us, Muriel, about period poverty? What is it, and what does it mean for the people who need these products?
Sure. Well, period poverty is really defined by the inability to afford period products to manage your monthly period on a regular basis. So it's defined by not having the funds to be able to do that. And I think a lot of individuals that are affected by period poverty are struggling to afford these items on a regular basis. They also don't have access to them, so there may not be stores or places in their neighborhoods where these items are readily available. It causes a lot of different issues. One is that if you don't have the period products to manage your monthly period, you may be missing out on school or work because you have to stay home to manage that with other items. You also, much like diaper need, aren't able to afford some other items, so you may be making choices about what you're purchasing or paying for, be that choices between food or, those types of things, being able to pay rent or utilities. And it is a stressful situation when every month you have your period and every month you know that you don't have either access to the items that you need to manage it, or you don't have the funds to be able to purchase those items that you need. So you're using other items which may also may affect your health, like toilet paper or socks or those types of things.
Sure. Well, and I think that gets back to the question that I had asked earlier about using cloth diapers instead. There are a number of different consequences that come with not being able to use products that are specifically made for these purposes. The St. Louis Diaper Bank started its own program, the St. Louis Alliance for Period Supplies. What does that do, and why did you start it?
Yeah, so much like the diaper program, we distribute period supplies to those in need. And so we put together period kits. We have 4 different kits that we provide to individuals in need. based on needs. So pad only, tampon only, mixed kits, and then we also have first period kits for young people experiencing their first periods. And our program really came out of some research that Dr. Ann Siebert-Coleman from SLU did about period poverty and the effects of it and the causes of it. And we looked at that research, and really it mirrored what we were seeing with diaper need, and wanted to be able to help.
And this morning, actually, Dr. Ann Siebert-Coleman spoke with our producer, Danny Wysentowski, and she said that more needs to be done, in particular when it comes to students.
Because it has historically been just a very taboo, stigmatized topic that we haven't talked about much in public, people just kind of either assumed that everyone had it taken care of, or just it didn't even cross their mind as a potential issue. You know, when we did the first studies that we published in 2019 with adult women, a lot of these women said, "Thank you for asking about this. We have been surveyed, we have been asked about all different kinds of things, right? About education, about utilities, about food, about all this. You're the first person who's asked us about our periods."
That was St. Louis University researcher Ann Siebert-Coleman. Muriel, talk with us about the role that stigma plays around this topic. You know, what have you observed, and is that part of the reason period poverty has been overlooked, particularly among the populations that you're serving?
Yes, definitely. Just talking about it really in a lot of different cultures and households is taboo. And so, young people with periods really aren't getting that information or education around periods and, what they are and how to manage them and all of those types of things. And it really, becomes a thing that they're ashamed of because it's not talked about. And so to be able to amplify that and have a voice and talk about it, I think, and bring it out into the open as just a natural thing that happens to, women and girls and others who have periods on an annual, on a monthly basis is nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah. Was there something in particular about Ann's research that led the St. Louis Diaper Bank to start its own program that was focused on fighting period poverty alongside the work that it was doing, supplying diapers?
Yeah, I think they were aligned in the causes and consequences of both. And it was a need that wasn't being met in St. Louis. And we really wanted to be able to, meet that need and to help people, with those products. It really, we have access to those products. We, know how to distribute them and package them, and, used Dr. Siebert's research to really formulate our own program, and an educational piece that we also include in there as well.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that occurred to me is that, you were serving mothers, so they need diapers for their babies. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're not having their periods. So they overlap there. And then among their children, they may have some children who also need period products. I mean, how much of that do you see where there is need for not just diapers for the baby, but also period products for other children and or the mother?
Oh, yeah, all the time. We have times where, families are getting diapers and we have the period kits and we're giving it to the mom, and the mom says, "Oh, yeah, my daughter also needs this as well." Or vice versa. We're at community events where we may be just distributing information about diapers and where to find them. And we have period kits there as well. And, the girls are saying, "Oh, can I get that?" So, I mean, it is, a need out there in the community. And to be able to, like you said, we were already serving, moms and babies. And this is just a natural sort of progression into what what we wanted to be able to do for the families in St. Louis.
The St. Louis Diaper Bank partners with certain schools in the St. Louis region. What does that work entail?
Yeah, so we partner with schools on a couple different things. So sometimes they're diaper partners and sometimes they're period supply partners. Most of them are period supply partners, and we are providing them mainly with those first period kits. So those kits include pads and liners, and then some educational materials around how to use items and how to manage your symptoms when you're on your period. And so that works really well. We give those kits out to our educational partners, our school partners, and they can provide those items that schools currently aren't providing unless they're utilizing the DESI grant. But this is, helpful to them because it fills a need. Their students, need these items, and this provides them with access so that they can help their students and help the students be able not to miss school because they don't have access to these items.
Now, another study by Ann Siebert-Kuhlman, which was conducted in 2022, found that a majority of school nurses reported that they have students who've missed school because of their periods. Does that match with what you've seen and what you've heard on the ground, Muriel? And are there ways your organization can help those students in particular?
Yeah, it certainly matches with what we're seeing. It's coupled by it's sort of two things. One is the stigma of having a period, and the other is access to having these items on a regular basis. And so I think, if we couple having education around periods, which is something that we are looking at piloting next fall with a school partner, and also coupled with having the actual period kit to help, the girls feel like they can come to school because they have the items that they need, and they also understand periods and, sort of dispelling some of that stigma around having a period.
Now, last year, Missouri's government started providing funding to school districts, which you mentioned, the DESI funding, to give free period products to students. And that program is now in its second year. When it comes to combating period poverty, what is a next step that you are hoping to see?
Yeah, well, hoping to see that this program continues with DESI so that public schools can continue to have these items that they're supplying for their students. We certainly can continue to partner with schools to provide the kits, but it is best that these items just are regularly available in restrooms for the students to utilize and not have to go to the nurse's office to get a kit or something like that, because that also adds to the stigma. And so we are looking at piloting a program with a school this fall where those two things kind of collide. So we'll be helping with the stigma of having a period while also providing the items that they need for a monthly basis. And so I really think schools need to, look at that in addition to being able to provide these items through the DESI grant and hopefully continue with that funding. But also the education piece is important, which I know some schools do, but not all schools do. So that piece is important, I think, to help with, girls missing school because they'll understand how to manage their period and what that is. And then, know that this is a normal course of, how your body works and not feel ashamed and not want to come to school on the days that they have their periods.
Right. Muriel, you got this position at the St. Louis Diaper Bank in 2020, and obviously there was a lot going on at the time. Families were facing COVID. There were shortages of all kinds of essential items. Have we returned to some kind of normal, or are families still struggling to get those basic things that they need?
Yeah, from our standpoint, we see that families are still struggling, and probably more than they were before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and now it's just continued. So before the pandemic in 2019, we were distributing about 1.5 million diapers. We hadn't quite started our period product program yet. And we've continued since 2020 of distributing over 3 million diapers a year. And I know that's increasing across the state as well with the other diaper banks. And so, yeah, we definitely know that there's an increase.
Muriel, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
This episode was produced by Danny Wissentowski.
Audio engineering and podcast design by Aaron Dorr.
Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
St. Louis on the Air proudly supports local artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations, and leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thank you.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.